Alright, what's going on YouTube? Wraith Airsoft with a tech video that I figured I'd throw up of a very old Tokyo Marui FAMAS. A friend of mine got it down in Florida for dirt cheap, completely lucky deal, so we figured we'd take it apart. Semi-auto wasn't working, figured it might be the cutoff lever, so took it apart. It wasn't the cutoff lever. What we actually found was right here where the cutoff lever mechanism is, down here. There was a whole glob of glue just sitting there, and it was also glued up here, so it couldn't move. It didn't have semi-auto. Nothing was broken though, so everything worked fine. This gearbox is like 20 years old too, so surprisingly it's not really in too bad shape. I mean, the gearbox shell was completely full of dirt, and there was even a wood splinter in there somewhere, but I figured I'd take apart a Tokyo Marui. Been through a rough life, so we'll see how the parts are. Compression system, of course. Tappet plate right here. Seems pretty flexible, not broken. I mean, standard. What else can I say? Of course, you got your Tokyo Marui piston right here. Probably standard TM spring shooting, I don't know, 300 FPS, give or take. You can see the piston's completely full of dirt or something. Looks like almost could be grit. Yeah, old grease. What else can you expect from this old gun? Non-ported piston head, unfortunately, but you can live with it. Surprisingly, even with this old O-ring, there is still some sort of compression there. It's not 100%, but I mean, it's bouncing back, so obviously the compression's still pretty decent. Standard cylinder head for version 1. Air nozzle looks like it's in pretty good shape. Nothing wrong there. Single O-ring, pretty standard damper, thin, so whatever. Full cylinder. FAMAS has a pretty long barrel. It's a bullpup gun, so not really a shocker. It was full of gunk, but we cleaned it out, and now it has, better compression than it did before, so that's always good. Spring guide, I was actually surprised because I'd never taken part of version 1 before, but the spring guide was plastic, but I thought it was weird that it kind of sits in here like that. So I was expecting to have to take a screwdriver and stick it in like with a version 2 or 3 and hold it down, but that was there, so it made it a little bit easier. It is plastic. It has a metal washer on it so the spring doesn't twist up and get all wrecked. Does its job. It's not a very powerful spring anyway, so whatever. Pretty standard Tokyo Marui gear set. Looks to be in good shape. None of them are worn. I was actually surprised. The gears are shimmed really, really well for a stock gun, but I don't have very much experience with Tokyo Marui as a brand, so but these were shimmed well. They seem pretty decent quality. The sector gear is fine. I noticed that this tooth right here, let me get my pointer. This tooth right here is actually thicker than the rest of them. You can tell which tooth it is too. It's the tooth that releases the piston when it comes up on it. So I thought that was a little weird. I'd never seen that before. So it's got this old EG560 motor. Kind of a weird design in the FAMAS. It's not like a standard one you find in M4 or whatever the hell else you want to use. Pretty standard stuff. It actually seemed to have a pretty decent amount of torque for what it's pulling. It's only pulling a 300 FPS spring, so I actually found too that the bevel to pinion height was pretty good, so it wasn't grinding. There wasn't a lot of grit in here. All the old grease is just old grease filled with dirt, so not a big deal. And it ran great. It had a high rate of fire. It was accurate as whatever you could find. I mean, which I never really cared too much for TM before because I didn't have any experience with them, but now that I've seen the hell that this gun has gone through and that it still works, I'm definitely interested in buying one if I ever get a chance to. So if anybody's out there who is thinking Tokyo Marui sucks because, ooh, 300 FPS, my JG is so much better because it shoots 400, well, guess what? You're wrong, because this gun will probably outperform any gun that shoots high FPS stock like that, unless it's upgraded. But so I am now a Tokyo Marui believer. Alright, so what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to take this gearbox, clean it up a bit, which most of the dirt's already gone anyway, but clean up a little bit more, get everything good. There's still some dirt really down here in the spur gear, so there's still a little bit in the piston rails too down on the other half of the gearbox. It's pretty well clean, but just want to get rid of all the old grease and everything. And then I'm going to re-grease it, we're going to shoot it, and tell you how it goes. Most of the stock parts are probably going to work anyway, so it functioned before, so going to re-grease it, make sure it's trimmed right, and then we're going to go outside and shoot it, see how accurate it is, see how the hop-up is, and hopefully nothing fails in the process of doing so. So, yeah. Before I continue cleaning this gearbox up, a couple things I forgot to mention. Bevel gear, right here. Whoops. You'll notice there are only two catches for the AR latch. My thumb's kind of in the way. There's one. And there's a second one. Pretty much just on either side. You can kind of see it on the bevel gear if I can get good lighting. So that's something to look out for. You usually want more than that, but not a big deal considering how freaking long this gun has lasted. Other thing I forgot to mention. Piston on the teeth, the wear. There really isn't very much other than the last, let me find a pointer. The last 1, 2, 3, 4 teeth. You can see, or at least I can see, the sector gear is kind of starting to dig a little bit of a trench there. But again, this gearbox is 20 years old, and of course the AOE isn't corrected at all, so I would say it's doing pretty good. Alright guys, we got the FAMAS back together. It was a pain in the ass, the body, I don't even want to mess with it anymore, but we don't have the screws for this base plate here where the selector mechanism is, so when you shoot it you kind of have to put pressure on it like that to get the electrical mechanism to work, but just for the gearbox test it doesn't really matter. Got a 9.6 nunchuck, 1600 mAh, probably 70% charged. Tamiya plugs, no Deans on it, so just gonna see how she fires. So, semi works. Check out full. Appears to be working just fine. Sometimes it won't fire because, again, that thing doesn't have screws on it, so it's not wanting to let current through because it doesn't have enough pressure on it. Only thing holding it there is tape, and the trigger's a little sticky too, but that's just the that's not in the gearbox, it's just the mechanism that it uses. It needs a little bit rooting out. I just wanted to test the gearbox, make sure it worked and everything, so long as everything works. You can see it's having trouble resetting. I kind of have to push it with my thumb, but works fine, so root out the problems later. I'll do an accuracy test. I haven't taken the hop up apart or anything, but I'll do an accuracy test, see how that's doing, and that'll be on a second video, of course, but I'll post that soon, and stay tuned for some more tech videos. Pretty soon I'm going to be taking apart a KWA 2GX version 2 out of a CQR mod 1, I believe, the longer version. So stay tuned for that. I'll probably take apart another TM, another KWA, some other shit, just to check out internally, show you guys what guns look like inside, so stay tuned for that stuff.